We are back today. We're going to talk to you guys about our relationship with food and why that can sometimes get in our way when it comes to making positive nutritional changes in order to improve our health. Before we get into that, we'll just quickly introduce ourselves for those of you who are new to our community and aren't familiar with who we are. My name is Jessica Melnick. I am a registered holistic nutritionist, the founder of the Anti-Arthritis Method, the host of the Happy Joints Arthritis Solutions Group, and I help both women and men with various forms of arthritis get back to living life the way they choose to, not the way they have to. And I will pass it on to you, Casey.
Yep, I am Casey Kephart. I'm the founder of the Feel Good Formula, and I am a functional medicine nutritionist for women with all different types of autoimmune diseases, getting you back to the activities you love, trashing your symptoms, and living your life fully. And I reside in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Amazing. So, like I said, today we're going to talk about, when it comes to making nutritional changes, because Casey and I are both nutritionists, of course. And so the big foundations of our programs that we use to help our clients is obviously going to be nutrition. And we all know that there are a lot of things that surround making changes to the way that we eat that can get in our way sometimes and can make those changes a little trickier than that they need to be. So we're going to explore some of these relationships and perspectives that are commonly held about food, at least in our Western culture and our experience. So when we think about food, I know a lot can come to mind. So there's a lot of societal views about food, cultural, religious, celebratory. There's addictions to food. There's a lot of feelings and beliefs around food when we look at, how we think about what we eat and our diets. And these are beliefs and perspectives and norms that can really make it tricky to make changes because they really become ingrained in who we are as people. And a lot of it, I think, just becomes subconscious because we grew up with these beliefs and these norms. And so when it comes to making a change that is different from that, we are often, hit with these beliefs that we have in the back of our mind that can get in the way. So when we think about, different, like I look at my family and food, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. Celebrations and family get-togethers, and food is such a central part. It's like, oh, I can't wait to eat my Auntie Sally's buns, or my cousin's artichoke and spinach dip, and like everyone brings something, and usually we're looking forward to it because sometimes it's like foods that are special occasion foods we don't get to eat all the time, and we're excited to experience that. And it's all kind of surrounded with sometimes like those feelings of excitement and getting together and happiness and celebration. Sometimes it can be really negative too, depending on what it is. But that's like kind of one of my earliest memories, I think, about food is just that celebration aspect of it. So, Casey, do you have something that you wanted to share in terms of like a memory of food or a belief about food that you grew up with?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily what I grew up with, but I think it's what the media has told us for so freaking long that my example is always oatmeal. I was addicted to oatmeal, I would say, and it's one of my favorite things in the world. But when it came to actually needing to change my diet and get rid of the oatmeal, one, it was an addiction. Two, it was, well, what the heck do I replace it with? But three, there's a lot of things going on here. It was, well, oatmeal's supposed to be good for me. People are living to 100 years old and they're telling me it's because they ate oatmeal every morning and it's rich with fiber and all of these things, right? We've been told for so long, but it was one of the main things that was getting me sick, other than gluten and lifestyle and everything else. But when getting rid of foods or trying to change them and not eat them anymore, we have all of these things going on, and it's our brain trying to trick us. It's the media that also comes into our mind, or our education that everybody's told us. And so stepping away from all of those what you should be doing and what everybody is telling you should be doing is a journey, and it takes a long time. So we become attached to this food, and then when we try to stop it, our brain's like, hey, no, this isn't safe. We need to keep doing this. So it's this is why it just doesn't happen overnight for most people. And if it happens overnight for you, you are a stronger person than we are.
Mhm. Amen to that. I
Mhm.
know there's definitely foods that I was really attached to growing up well into, my 30s. And one example I have is my peanut butter and banana toast that I ate
Oh,
for breakfast,
so
like
good.
almost every day of my life since I was a child. Like my dad
Yeah.
used to make me a piece of peanut butter toast and cut it into like four little squares for me when I was a kid. So these are some of my earliest memories. It's very comforting to me. And it's something that I ate, and I was eating like a quote unquote healthy version of it in my adulthood, like eating the sprouted grain bread that's higher in protein, high in fiber, made from sprouted grains. I was eating the natural peanut butter with no sugar or oils added, and then having like a banana with cinnamon on top. And I absolutely love that. And for some people, that is a perfectly wonderful, well balanced diet. And some people can thrive on that. Unfortunately for me, as I developed arthritis and
Mhm.
realized number one, you can't have gluten anymore because it's going to make your feet fall off. Literally, that's what it felt like.
Mhm.
And number two, peanut butter is also not good for me either. I
Mhm.
just didn't know it at the time until after I got sick and I had to explore and figure out what I could and couldn't eat anymore, and what was going to help me thrive and what was going to hold me back physically into my illness. And so that was really hard for me to wrap my head around. So it wasn't just the peanut butter banana toast. There were other things too that I had to really revisit and give up. And there's a lot of emotions attached to that. There's, like you're saying, Casey, addictions, habits, and really having to look at, okay, what do I want more? Do
Yeah.
I want my health, or do I want this food and that temporary pleasure? Because our brains are wired to bring us to pleasure and to
Yeah.
avoid pain. And that is a normal human response. It has nothing to do with anyone being lazy or undisciplined. It's how our brains work. And I think
Yeah.
that is the first step of realizing what we need to just understand about how our human brain works. And once we know that our brain is always going to trick us into going back to what's comfortable and familiar to us, even if it's not what is the best choice for us health wise,
Yeah.
health wise. And so once I realized that, I could start working on, some of the substitutions that I was making for things, and finding other foods that really were good for my health that I could have instead, and exploring that. And yes, like any kind of change does come with some effort. Absolutely. But it is worth it when it comes to getting rid of your symptoms and feeling like yourself again as a person. And I know that my clients and your clients too, Casey, we all go through this when we're making changes. It doesn't matter if it's a diet change or if it's a job change, career change,
Mhm.
major life change. Change is always going to have challenges, and you can make it work. So
Yeah.
I
It
think,
takes
go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, it takes time to make a new normal for ourselves. And it also takes time to find a replacement food that also makes us happy. So, mine was oatmeal back in the day that just got me out of bed in the morning, honestly. And now, or, a couple months ago, it was Brussels sprouts with bacon that got me out of bed in the morning and couldn't wait to eat. And, it's just finding that replacement that makes you happy and get those endorphins going and that dopamine boost that Jessica was just talking about, but also shifting your new normal. Um, for you, Jessica, it was normal to have bananas and toast and cinnamon. And then you shift now and look at yourself now. Your new normal is probably meat and vegetables in the morning, or your AIP muffin that you eat, So never would you wake up again and be like, wow, I think I'm going to have some toast with banana. It's just something that doesn't even pop up in your brain anymore. So all of these things are temporary. So don't think you're going to be craving these foods for the rest of your life that you can't have. It just doesn't work like that. Your brain rewires, you rewire, you're healthier, so you don't want to go back to those foods anymore. But I think we have in our minds when these people come up to Jessica and I and say, well, I can never not eat bread or I can never not eat cheese. I think those are the top two lines that we hear all the time. Um, and like, yes, you can. And I guarantee you, you won't even crave them anymore after a while. But your brain is in that fight or flight mode and it's scared and it's hard to make the change. So, kind of think about that when, if you've made a change in your life and looking back, do you want to go back to the thing that you were doing before, or are you comfortable now and feel better now? It's the same thing with food.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I think the first step is just awareness that our brain is always going to try to get us to go back to what we're used to and what we're
Yeah.
comfortable with, regardless if that's a good choice for us. And so
Yeah.
I know that's why both Casey and I have a ton of support in our programs to help our clients to like follow through with those changes and to support them through those challenges that do pop up when we are making those changes, because we do acknowledge that it is challenging, but it does get easier. My clients always say the first 3 weeks is the hardest. And then now they'll say things like, I don't have cravings anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really satisfied with my food. I have so much more energy. I'm feeling so much better. I have so much less pain. I have more mobility. I can do more. And then that itself becomes so motivating to stick with these positive changes and to keep going, because you're getting your life back. And that is so rewarding and so much more important than, I think, peanut butter and banana toast any day of the week. And I have another version of my peanut butter and banana toast now that I have for breakfast, or a few different versions of them that are
Mm-hmm.
satisfying and that I look forward to getting out of bed to enjoy in the morning. So it does get better. It's always a little scary at first. But like I said, you have support and it will get easier. It always gets easier. Like Casey was saying, your brain will rewire. You will learn new things and new patterns, and it's not always going to be scary or hard or challenging. It will get so much better. So I know one exercise Casey and I really encourage people to do when they're looking at making a nutritional change is to, write down your beliefs about foods that you're struggling to give up, that you know. I know that if you aren't in our programs and you're not following a specific plan per se, I know that everybody who's listening knows that there's certain foods that they probably shouldn't eat that are not supporting their health. They know. But it's still, it can be challenging to give that up. So just write down all of the beliefs around these foods that are making it hard for you to give them up when you know that you need to, whether it's like sugar, gluten, excess alcohol, and whatever it is for you. And I think that a lot of us don't take that time to actually ask ourselves, like, why is this hard for me to give up? Like, what am I getting from this food that I'm not getting elsewhere? And that in itself is such an illuminating exercise when you really ask yourself, okay, why? Why? Because usually there's a lot of stuff underneath it. It's comfort, it's relaxation, it's having a moment to yourself, it's pleasure. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at these things that you're getting from this food, and which is only temporary, mind you, often it's those foods make us feel worse later, and that
Mm-hmm.
all the benefits that we're getting from it in the moment fade shortly after. So it's, what can I do, or what can I replace this with in order to get my needs met? So if you need pleasure in your life, what can you do to give yourself, like, have pleasure in your life, have enjoyment, have happiness? Like, do you need to make time for one of your favorite hobbies that you've put on the back burner? Do you need to talk to a friend once a week
Mm-hmm.
or something, or have a standing walk date with a friend? Like, what do you need in order to have that enjoyment in your life? What are you missing? If you're super stressed out, what is it that's going to help reduce your stress level? Like, we all have it, right? And I know that it's automatic for a lot of us, myself included, to automatically think, oh, I want a glass of wine. Oh, I want potato chips and I just want to like melt into the couch. Like that's an automatic thought for a lot of us, some version of that. But
Hmm.
what is it that we can actually do to have our needs met that doesn't require food?
Yeah. Also, what's the alternative of keeping up and eating this food? Where is that going to put you? How is that going to make you feel? Because I can tell you, if I kept eating gluten and oatmeal for the rest of my life, I would not be able to hang out with my friends, play as much volleyball as I could, and maybe even end up in the hospital. Like, also think about that. What are you doing to your body? What are you sacrificing your body by eating these foods? And is it worth it for you?
Mhm. Yeah, and I can tell you the last time I had an arthritic flare up, it's always absolutely terrifying because I don't always know which joints it's going to attack.
Mm,
And I'm talking having like barely any mobility or strength and being in so much excruciating pain that I literally like couldn't pick up like a saucepan
yeah.
type of pain. And so that is a really strong motivator to avoid foods I know that
Yeah.
are going to contribute to that and that are going to keep my body in that state. So I know what the alternative is. And sometimes it's hard to wrap our head around that if we've been feeling okay or if our symptoms have been, not as bad for a period of time because they can come and go. But knowing that alternative, if you were to continue consistently eating in a way that is going to inflame your body and what those potential consequences are, I think that that is very strong motivation and also an incredibly strong reason to keep yourself healthy and to eat in a way that's going to support your health. And I think making those choices, regardless of maybe if your family thinks it's weird or maybe they don't understand why you're eating what you're eating, or you're worried about inconveniencing people if you like, let's say you're not eating gluten and you're going to someone's house for supper. There's ways that you can work around all of these things. Casey and I have a lot of experience doing this for ourselves, and we help our clients with this too. So there's ways that you can work around this. You don't have to keep doing things just because it's something that you've already done. What I think society, or at least in Western society, has taught us what is a normal diet isn't necessarily your normal or what
Yeah.
for you, and that's okay. I don't know, I'm kind of all about changing the normal because normal is not a one size fits all, and it's actually really detrimental for so many people
And
to get.
it's usually a money ploy to try to say what is normal for everybody in the media, at least. It's not for our health necessarily. It's for how much things we can sell on the shelf. So with everything, listen to your own body and learn more about it. Ask questions about it. Ask questions about yourself and write down these lists that we're talking about and really dig deep into that subconscious of why I'm gravitating towards this food. Why am I using food as a crutch for endorphins and dopamine and relaxation when so many other things can do that for you besides food? It's just food is one of those attachments that our body gravitates to, I guess, because it does instantly boost that dopamine. And it's always been something that we've gravitated to since child.
Mhm.
So ask so many questions to yourself, is what I got to say.
Yeah, and it's not until we really look into that and like, where is this coming from? Where are these beliefs coming from? Where
Hmm.
are these desires coming from? And really giving ourselves what we need in a non-food way that we can really learn about ourselves. And I look at it as an act of self-love
Yeah.
and an act of self-care. And I think that the reason that so many of us don't take the time to do this is because we have busy lives and we get caught up in all our day-to-day responsibilities, and depending on where you are in the stage of your life, you may be putting yourself and your health on the back burner, and now it's finally time to give that back to yourself and take the time to look after yourself
Yeah.
and really look into that and what it is that you need and what it is that is going to make you truly happy. And so it's so much more than the food. Like it's about so much more than that. And it's really unearthing that and taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
And like
And
I
if,
said, we can help you with that.
and if you're watching this video either live or on the replay and you're in either one of our groups, your body is probably already screaming at you to look within, to be mindful of these foods that you're eating, to change your diet already. Because you're having these flares or these symptoms or diagnosed with arthritis or an autoimmune disease. So if there's any time, the time is now. Your body's ready for it. So look within, ask yourself a couple questions just today to see what you can find. I think that's all I needed to say.
Yeah, no, I feel like I could talk about this forever because I'm so passionate about it, but I think that we covered kind of all the main points about this topic. So please reach out to us if you guys are curious or if you have more questions about how to go about doing this. We're both really passionate about this, and this is what we help our clients do in more detail inside of our programs. So reach out if you'd like some support. We're here. And with that, I will be back on Thursday with another recipe for you guys. And Casey will be back with me next Tuesday. So we will see you guys again soon.
Have a good day, everybody.